Investing in real estate is probably one of the smartest decisions I've ever made. Honestly, I was going to school to become a doctor, and then I kind of somehow just pivoted completely into real estate back after learning about it when I was 16 years old, getting into a two-family that I made all the wrong mistakes, and then kind of growing and meeting Kevin and having us build up the empire that we currently have today. Now, I'm going to talk about one way that I think is the best way to get started in real estate. And honestly, if I had to do it all over again, this is how I would have done it. If I have to have a time machine, so to speak, I would talk to myself and slap it around and tell them exactly what to do. And this is the video for that. So make sure you take out a paper and pen and take some notes, because I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I think is the best way to get started in real estate even today. As always, guys, we're the two guys take on real estate. We bought hundreds of properties at foreclosure auction. We own hundreds of rentals. We have commercial property, all this stuff. We have a lot of experience. We've been doing this for I've been doing this for over 28 years. So, we have a lot of experience, and just want to let you know that we're just telling you this is our life experience. This is what we've done. And so we're trying to share that with you so you can learn from all our mistakes so you don't make the same ones. All right, so I'm outside one of our properties that we have here that we're renovating. And I'm going to talk about what we would have done differently starting off, as a new investor in real estate, and what we would do. And that right there would be basically what's called house hacking. And you've probably saw some other videos on our channel about house hacking. But by and far, I want to have another one, because I really think if you're looking to get started in real estate, it's the best way for you to get started. And not only that, not just house hacking. I want to kind of talk about the whole premise. So I'll give a little bit about house hacking itself, and then kind of go into more details. So what is house hacking? House hacking is where you get a property that you can live in partially and rent out another part of it, whatever that be. Maybe you're renting out rooms, maybe you're renting out the basement because you have an in-law suite, maybe you have a multifamily, a 2, 3, or 4. That's the key. You don't want to go above 4, really. I mean, you could, but realistically don't. And there's a reason why, and we'll go into that. But you can basically buy these, and you can then rent that out so that it covers your expenses, if not more, putting money in your pocket. So therefore, you're at the very least living rent-free. And now that allows you, because one of your biggest expenses is your rent or your mortgage payments. And if you can get that covered through a house hack, that really allows you more money to put into more real estate and grow your wealth at a faster pace. So now you got a house hack. You're looking for this, so you know what your buy box is. You're looking for a 1 to 4 family that you can rent out a portion of it and live in another portion. That's your buy box, all right? And maybe you figure out what's your area and stuff like that, and your price points. Well, the next thing is, where do you find those? And one of the best ways I'm going to tell you right now to find them is through foreclosure auctions. All right, this is where you can get discounted property. So not only are you going to be house hacking it, you're going to also put the value add in and essentially make it what's called a BRRRR, where you buy it, renovate it, rent it out, and then refinance it. All right, and then the repeat part, that will go for later, but basically you're going to BRRRR it in so that you can have as little money tied up into the property as well. By buying it at a foreclosure auction, you're able to typically get a really good deal. So if you're finding stuff like we found this property here, we got this property for approximately, I'm trying to remember, it was like 160 something thousand. We're putting some money into it. Now, once again, we're not going to rent it out as far as that. We're going to flip it, but there's the resale value is probably around 320, 330,000, and we're putting into about $55,000 of work. So as you can see, there's a lot of value added because we were able to buy what's called a distressed asset at foreclosure auction. And now, while there's other ways to buy distressed assets, we found that buying them at foreclosure auction is one of the best ways that you can get in without, but now there are some risks, of course, but there's the best ways that you can get involved. By the way, hey USA, thank you for your dumpsters. But you can get involved in a property for as little as possible. And now, how would you get that done? So now you've found an auction, you've bid it, you've won at the auction. Now the key is often they're need to be done in about 30 days. So you have to close on it in 30 days, which can be pretty tight. So what do? Is you're going to typically work with either a private money lender or a hard money lender. These are basically people who do short-term loans, and there are some institutions like Kiavi out there. This is not sponsored by Kiavi, by the way. But if Kiavi, if you'd like to be sponsored or sponsor our videos, please comment below or reach out to us because we'd love to work with you guys. Now, and so you're using those for to be able to close, and also often for the rehab budget as well. So maybe you don't have the money, to actually do all the renovations, because once again, you're just getting started. But this allows you to basically get in for very little money up front. You get the access to property. Now, these are short-term loans. They are high-interest loans, so you want to get in and out as fast as possible. The key is getting the work done quickly, having good contacts, or if you can do the work yourself, even better. That will keep your costs down. So now you got basically, you won the property at foreclosure auctions. You got a deep discount. You know that it also fits your buy box, that it is a house hack, that you're going to live in one, rent out 1, 2, 3, whatever the other units are. So you can make sure that you're, minimizing your, rental expense or your, living expense. And then the next thing is really, you're going to go to a local bank. I find one like a portfolio lender typically is what I've found that works really well. Once again, you're going to be putting this in your own name. So I would find a bank that, you can work with and shop around. Like find a local bank, maybe find 4 or 5 local banks, put together a little portfolio, basically of the property, a little description about it. Now you're going to go, look to be putting it in your own name, refinancing it. And they'll get you typically a 30-year, maybe even a 40-year mortgages out there now for some FHAs. You can also, now they're going to look at the appraised amount. So maybe they lend 80%, 90% of LTV or loan to value. And so therefore you've added so much value now, you're possibly not only hopefully keeping no money if you're you're paying off the hard money lender, all the money that you've tied up, paying yourself back any capital that you've got tied into the property, but you potentially, and we've done this many, many times, you walk away with cash at the table, and that you can then use as a buffer or possibly into your next investment. So now you got this refinanced with a local bank, you're living there, you've got it rented out, so your expenses are very minimal now, if not zero, maybe even putting some money in your pocket, and you've also maybe got some extra cash after the closing, which is awesome. And the next thing is then look at possibly putting a HELOC on it. Because of all the extra equity you had, maybe there's even more equity than the bank wouldn't allow, or maybe they even do it as part of the close. You work with the same bank, they do a second HELOC on it, or basically a HELOC plus with the first. So now you have access to that cash, as it doesn't cost you any money on the monthly basis, but you can tap into it like a credit card essentially and use that for the next investment property. And this is where you start growing your wealth by using and leveraging the property and the value that you added into the property, so that you can start looking for the next property. That's where your wealth starts exploding, because once you get this snowball kind of growing and growing and growing, it gets easier and easier. And especially as you refine how you search for property and understanding the markets that you're in, it will just start moving faster and faster. Now, finding property is hard, but once again, if you can learn about foreclosure auctions like we talk about here, that might be one of the best ways to find a lot of good deals in your area. And maybe you only need one a year, maybe every other year. But after a few of them, in, after the next, say, 10 years, you got 5 properties, that can be life-changing. And that is how I would say I would get started in real estate today if I had to start all over again. All right, thanks so much. But leave a comment below if you have any questions on anything I said. And thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next video.